ChatGPT has just crossed an important line, and it's no longer being positioned as only one place where we type a question and receive an answer. With GPT 5.6 and ChatGPT Work, it can now stay with a larger assignment, work across files and applications, and turn a goal into finished material such as a spreadsheet, presentation, report, or a web app. OpenAI released GPT 5.6 on July 9, 2026 as a family of 3 models. Soul, the flagship model for the hardest work. Terra, a balanced option for everyday professional tasks. Luna, the fastest and the most cost-efficient option. So when we say ChatGPT 5.6, we're not talking about just one chatbot with a different number. We are talking about a new set of models powering different ways of working inside ChatGPT, as well as ChatGPT Work, Codex, and OpenAI API. The real meaning of this update is that the tool can move beyond just writing replies and help a complete connected sequence of work. For example, reading campaign data, checking meeting notes, finding contradictions, calculating results, creating a management presentation, and then using the same information to build a dashboard. Now, this matters because people are already using these tools for far more than just casual questions. So now that we can understand why ChatGPT 5.6 matters, let's move on to the agenda. GPT 5.6 overview. Understand what GPT 5.6 is and why it's so important. Soul, Terra, and Luna. Compare the 3 model options and their use cases. ChatGPT Work and Codex. Learn which environment suits each type of task. Key improvements. Explore what has changed in reasoning, coding, design, and workplace tasks. A comparison demo. Test Soul, Terra, and Luna using the same campaign data. ChatGPT Work demo. Turn raw files into analysis, spreadsheet, and presentation. Codex dashboard demo. Build a working campaign dashboard from the same data. Verification and limitations. Check claims, formulas, privacy risks, and missing information. Now, before we move on, let me share something really important with you. If you're actively looking for jobs or planning a career switch or worried that your current skills may not be enough for the next wave of AI-driven roles, then learning how to actually build and apply AI can give you a much stronger advantage than simply knowing how to use a few tools. So the professional certificate course in generative AI and machine learning from EICTA Consortium IIT Kanpur is in collaboration with Simplilearn and is also helping you to design job-relevant skills across Python, data science, machine learning, deep learning, generative AI, prompt engineering, NLP, reinforcement learning, and agentic AI. You get hands-on exposure to more than 30 tools and libraries, including Python, TensorFlow, PyTorch, LangChain, GitHub Copilot, OpenCV, and ChatGPT. So you're not just learning concepts. This program also includes more than 18 real-world projects across marketing, finance, healthcare, HR recommendation systems, computer vision, and generative AI, helping you create a portfolio that can support job applications, interviews, and career transitions. With live expert-led training, IIT Kanpur masterclass, hands-on workshops, and career support, this program is especially useful for fresh graduates, working professionals, developers, analysts, and career switchers who want a structured path into AI and machine learning roles. Now, before we move ahead, here is a quick question to test your understanding. Which GPT 5.6 model is designed as a balanced option for everyday professional work? Is it A, Soul, B, Terra, C, Luna, or is it D, Codex? Let us know your answers in the comments below. So before we explore the capabilities of GPT 5.6, let's first understand where it fits in the AI ecosystem. So when people hear GPT 5.6, they often think it's simply a new chatbot version, but there is something more to it. So GPT 5.6 represents the underlying intelligence, while different environments like ChatGPT, ChatGPT Work, and Codex are designed for different types of tasks. So a normal ChatGPT conversation is useful when you need luck, answers, explanations, brainstorming, or content assistance. But professional work usually involves multiple steps, files, and decisions. And this is why ChatGPT Work becomes so useful in helping users analyze information and creating outputs like reports. And Codex focuses on software development tasks, where the requirement is not just explaining code, but actually working with projects, creating files, and building applications. So the key difference is simple. ChatGPT helps you answer questions, ChatGPT Work helps you complete larger workflows, and Codex can help you build and modify software. So now that we understand where GPT 5.6 fits, let's look at what makes this generation different from traditional AI assistants. Now, the best change is the ability to handle more complex tasks and involve multiple steps, different sources of information, and practical outcomes. So earlier, many used AI mainly for individual tasks like writing an email, summarizing a document, or answering a question. But real work is rarely limited to only one action. So, business analysts may need to review reports, find insights, create recommendations, and present the findings to leadership. GPT focuses on supporting these larger workflows. It can help with analyzing information, work with files, create professional documents, assist with coding tasks, and support decision-making process. However, the goal is not just to replace human thinking. The real value comes from combining AI's ability to process information quickly with human judgment and experience. So, for example, AI can help identify patterns in campaign data, but a marketing professional still needs to decide which strategy makes more sense for the business. So, this shift from simply generating answers to helping complete meaningful tasks is what makes ChatGPT 5.6 so important. So, now that we understand the overall improvements, let's have a look at three GPT 5.6 models and understand when each one makes sense. GPT 5.6 introduces three different models: Soul, Terra, and Luna. Each model is designed for different levels of complexity, speed, and efficiency. So, Soul is the highest capability model built for tasks that require deeper reasoning, advanced problem solving, research, and complex coding. For example, analyzing multiple business reports or solving a complicated technical challenge would benefit from a model like Soul. Now, Terra is the balanced option designed for everyday professional work. Tasks like creating reports, analyzing documents, preparing presentations, and solving common workplace problems fit well here. Now, Luna focuses on speed and cost efficiency. This is useful for simpler repetitive tasks where organizations use to handle large number of requests. Now, the important point is that the best model is not always the most powerful one. The right choice depends on the task, the expected quality, and the resources available. Selecting an AI model is similar to choosing the right person for a job. Not every task requires the same level of expertise. For example, if a company needs to classify thousands of customer messages, a fast and efficient model may complete the task effectively. But if the company needs to analyze complex financial documents and prepare strategic recommendations, a more advanced model may be a better choice. When comparing models, we should always look beyond the final answer. Its important factors include accuracy, speed, cost, and how much human correction is required after the output is generated. So, a model that produces a longer response is not automatically better. The real question is whether it provides the right result for the specific requirement. And this approach helps businesses use AI more efficiently instead of choosing one model for every situation. So, now that we understand how to select models, let's move on to see a practical example and see how GPT 5.6 can handle a business workflow. So, one of the biggest changes in modern AI usage is moving from simple prompts to complete workflows. So, a basic prompt may ask, summarize this report. While useful, it solves only one small part of a larger task. In a real business environment, the requirement is usually much broader. A team may need to analyze multiple documents, compare information, identify problems, create reports, prepare presentations, and make recommendations. And this is where the way we communicate with AI becomes so important. Instead of only asking for an answer, we need to be explaining the goal, provide the necessary information, and define what the final output should be achieving. Let's say, for example, instead of saying analyze this marketing data, a better request would be review the campaign data, identify the best performing channels, compare results, and prepare recommendation for the next campaign. Now, this gives AI more context and helps produce a more useful outcome. So, the better we define the problem, the better AI can support the workflow. Now, let's have a look at how ChatGPT Work can help convert raw information into useful business outputs. So imagine a marketing team has a spreadsheet containing campaign performance, meeting notes, discussing observations, and a business brief explaining what leadership wants to know. The challenge is not only understanding each file individually, the challenge here is to connect all of the information together and create something useful. ChatGPT Work can help analyze these inputs and transform them into outputs such as reports, spreadsheets, presentations, and summaries. For example, the campaign data can reveal which channels are generating the highest revenue, which channels were most efficient, and where improvements may be required. But a good analysis also requires understanding limitations. So, if available data does not include customer lifetime values, we cannot be making claims about long-term customer profitability. And if there is no audience information, we cannot assume which platform generated better quality leads. And this is why combining AI capabilities with human review is so important. AI can organize and analyze information, but humans still provide the business context and final decision making. So now that we have understood how GPT 5.6 can help analyze information and create professional outputs, let's explore another important capability: building applications with Codex. So while traditional AI assistants who are mainly used for answering questions or generating content, Codex focuses on supporting software development workflows. So this helps developers understand existing code, create application files, modify them, and accelerate the development process. Say for example, imagine a marketing team has analyzed campaign data and wants to convert those insights into an interactive dashboard where users can view spending, leads, revenue, and campaign performance. So instead of manually creating every component from scratch, developers can describe the requirement and Codex can assist in creating the structure, suggesting improvements, and supporting different development tasks. However, Codex is not about simply generating code and accepting the output without review. Developers still need to understand the requirement, verify the generated code, test the application, and improve the final solution. The real value comes with combining AI assistance with developer expertise, allowing teams to reduce repetitive work and spending more time focusing on solving complex problems and building better applications. So while GPT 5.6 can generate reports, analyze information, and create useful outputs, one of the most important steps in any AI workflow is verification. A common mistake people make is assuming that a confident-looking answer is always accurate. AI can create impressive results, but important decisions still require human review. For example, imagine an AI system analyzing campaign performance and suggesting that webinars generated the highest revenue. Now, before making a business decision, the team should be comparing this conclusion with the original campaign data and verify whether the numbers actually support that claim. Now, the same applies to different AI-generated outputs. A spreadsheet may contain an incorrect calculation, a presentation may include an unsupported statement, or a dashboard may display the wrong metric. Now, a reliable AI workflow does not end when the output is generated. It includes checking information, validating important conclusions, and improving the final result before it's used. The best outcome happens when AI provides speed and assistance while humans provide judgment, experience, and decision making. Understanding its limitations is equally important. AI can only work with the information it receives. So if important details are missing, the output may not provide the complete picture. For example, if a campaign dataset contains spending and revenue information but does not include profit margins, AI can identify revenue performance, but it cannot confidently determine which campaign generated the highest profit. Another important factor is human judgment. AI can identify patterns and suggest recommendations, but business decisions often require understanding company goals, customer behavior, and practical limitations. So, responsible usage is also essential when working with AI tools. Organizations should carefully review what information they share, especially while handling confidential business data, customer information, or sensitive documents. Now, the goal here is to not blindly trust AI or to avoid using it completely. The most effective approach is to use AI as an assistant that can help people work faster and make better decisions while maintaining accuracy, privacy, and accountability. Now, before starting off with the demo, let's prepare the input files that we will be using throughout the workflow. So you can head over to any IDE of your choice, and I've chosen VS Code for my convenience. So here you go, and then you move on to File, and then create a new text file and save it as campaignperformance.csv, which is the first file that we will be using throughout this workflow. So now my CSV file will be containing the following input. So this file contains the raw campaign numbers that will be used for the model comparison, spreadsheet presentation, dashboard, and verification exercise. Now let's go ahead and create the second input. So you create a new text file, give it the title of marketing meeting notes.txt. So this is a text file. So the input we will be using in this text file is as follows. Google search brings the largest volume of enrollments but requires the highest campaign spend. LinkedIn leads are believed to include more managers, but the current data set doesn't contain any job role information. YouTube creates broad awareness, but the marketing team is uncertain about its complete revenue attribution. Email has its strongest return, but the available mailing list is limited. Webinars appear to convert interested leads effectively, and the team wants to increase enrollments before increasing or without increasing the total campaign budget. The marketing team believes that the webinars generated the highest revenue. So the final statement here is deliberately incorrect. The campaign CSV shows that Google search generated the highest revenue and not webinars. So this incorrected statement is what will help us test whether ChatGPT 5.6 checks the meeting notes against the original dataset. Now let's add an executive brief input. We'll create a file for that. So this will also be saved as a text file. And the input for this is as follows. You can pause here to have a look for your reference. Now let's move on to business objective. Now let's go ahead and create a business objective. Can you cut off that business objective word, please? Now let's add a presentation reference input. So let's go ahead and save this file as presentation reference input. And we will be saving this as a text file as well. The input for this is as follows. You can pause to have a look for your reference. So a real company could replace this text file with an existing presentation template or a brand reference. So now that all of the input files are ready, let's go ahead and understand what we are going to be learning. So before beginning the main demonstration, let's consider 3 different requests. The first request is explain the difference between brand awareness and lead generation. Now this is a normal question. It doesn't require several files, a complete application workflow, or a finished business deliverable, so a regular ChatGPT conversation is sufficient. Before we begin with the main demonstration, let's consider 3 different requests. So the first request is explain the difference between brand awareness and lead generation. Now this is a normal question and it doesn't require several files, a complete application workflow, or a finished business deliverable. So a regular ChatGPT conversation is sufficient. The second request is analyze these campaign files and create a spreadsheet, a management report, and an executive presentation. Now, this is no longer a simple question. It's a complete assignment involving several files, calculations, decisions, and multiple outputs. So a work-focused environment is more suitable. Now, the third request is open this software project, inspect the existing files, build a dashboard, and test whether it works. Now, this request involves a software project and code files, so Codex is a relevant choice. Now, by the end of this demonstration, we should be able to decide whether a task belongs in a normal ChatGPT conversation, a larger workflow, or Codex. Now, we should also be able to choose between Soul, Terra, and Luna and write a complete project prompt and verify the final output without using it. So I'm opening ChatGPT and I've signed in. So at the top of a normal conversation, I can open the model selection area. So as you can see, we have the option to select our models from here. So the exact options visible may vary from depending on account, subscription, region, and workspace settings. So a standard ChatGPT conversation is useful when I want to ask a question, explain a concept, brainstorm ideas, rewrite content, or solve a problem conversationally. A work-focused environment is useful when I have several files, a clear business objective, or multiple deliverables. So instead of asking only one question, I can describe the final result that I need. Now the system can review the supplied information, organize the work, and help create connected outputs, such as connected outputs and reports, spreadsheets, and even presentations. Now Codex is designed for software development tasks, and I can inspect a project folder, understand existing code, create or modify files, help build features, and help test results. Now we can understand these environments through one marketing example, where I ask, what is return on spending with advertising? So now I'm asking for an explanation, so a normal ChatGPT conversation is more than enough. Now when I ask, use these campaign files to create a complete business review, I am assigning a larger work project. Repeat, I am assigning a larger work project. Now, when I ask, turn this campaign data into a working website dashboard. So here I'm assigning a software development task, and that is where Codex becomes relevant. Now let's have a look at 3 GPT 5.6 model levels. Soul is the highest. Now this is suitable for difficult assignments where deeper reasoning, stronger output quality, and fewer corrections matter more than selecting the lightest model. Terra is a balanced option for normal professional work, and Luna is a faster and more efficient option for simpler work, repeated transformation, extraction, classification, and high-volume tasks. Now, a simple way to remember this is to imagine a workplace team. Soul is like a senior specialist assigned to the most difficult problems. Terra is like an experienced generalist handling everyday professional work. And Luna is like a fast operations assistant processing simpler and repetitive tasks. Now, this is only a memory aid, and the correct model should still be selected by testing it on an actual task. So instead of reading a long list of benchmark numbers, let's understand the improvement through a business example. So from what you know, I have a folder containing campaign data, meeting notes, and a business brief. Now, in a basic question and answer workflow, I might upload only the campaign CSV and ask ChatGPT to summarize it. So let's first demonstrate that simple workflow. So as you can see, I'm opening a normal ChatGPT conversation and attaching the campaign performance file. So go ahead and add photos or files. You move to documents. You're recording at 11. Shots. Your topic. Oh yeah. Give me 3 minutes. I still have to record, but I'll give you in 3 minutes. So I will be entering the following prompt. Review the attached campaign data and brief which marketing channels performed well, and repeat, and which channels need improve, followed by use only the information available in the uploaded CSV file. Do not make any assumptions about the audience quality, customer lifetime value, or profit, because those details are not included within this file. So this prompt contains three simple parts. The first part tells ChatGPT to review the campaign. The second part asks for a strong and weak channel findings. The third part prevents the response from inventing information that is not present in the dataset. After submitting the prompt, ChatGPT should provide a useful summary. So it may notice that Google search produced the largest number of enrollments, email was most efficient in channels, and some channel costs are made for more leads or enrollments. So as you can see, the results I just spoke about are as displayed over here. However, this still may not be only a written answer. It's not yet a complete business deliverable, and I would still need to create the formulas, check the tools, build the spreadsheet, design charts, prepare the presentation, and write the management summary. So the larger GPT 5.6 workflow is useful because I can describe the final outcome rather than just asking one isolated question. I can request a spreadsheet with formulas, charts, and executive presentation and a management summary. I can also provide meeting notes and ask the system to check whether they agree with the source data, and I can define what must remain unchanged and request an audit before using the final result. Now, the practical improvement is still therefore not simply that ChatGPT produces a longer response. The improvement is that we can organize our larger assignment around a final outcome while still providing reliable evidence, constraints, and a completion standard. Now let's do a comparison between Soul versus Terra versus Luna. So for this comparison, I'm creating three separate work conversations. In the first conversation, I select Soul. So there are two modes in ChatGPT. First is the normal chat and the second one is work. So you will have to select on work. Now moving on, in the first conversation, I select Soul. In the second, I select Terra. And in the third, I select Luna. So let me go ahead and show you how to do that. But before moving on, I have to let you know that the exact models visible to any account may vary, but the main purpose of this demo is to show how a fair comparison should be structured. So now I will go ahead and attach the same two files for all three conversations, which is campaignperformance.csv as well as the executive brief. So I use exactly the same prompt in every conversation and keep the reasoning or quality setting as similar as possible. So now let me go ahead and add the following prompt to this chat. Analyze the above documents which I have attached a concise 3-slide executive review. For slide 1, show total campaign spend, total leads, total enrollments, total revenue, and overall return on advertising spend. Slide 2, compare all of the 5 channels using. So we have options here, which is cost per lead, cost per enrollment, lead to enroll conversion rate, return on advertising spend. This takes a lot of time to type, man. And I will be pasting the following prompt here. So we have the prompt for slide 3, and we have some important constraints listed over here, followed by completion standard. So this prompt defines the final outcome, the content required on each slide, the constraints, and the completion standard. Now, after 3 outputs are generated, I don't automatically decide that one model is better. Akanksha, close the door now, please. Akanksha. So this prompt defines the final outcome, the content required on each slide, and the constraints and completion standard. Now, after the 3 outputs are generated, I don't decide that one model is better simply because the slides look more polished. I compare all of the 3 using the same scorecard. So here are the evaluation categories. Firstly, we have the calculation accuracy. Are all of the totals correct? Are all the formulas correct? And does the total proposed budget equal to 4,80,000 rupees? Then we have insight quality. Does the output explain why a channel performed well? Does it separate scale from efficiency? Does it identify missing information? And does it separate scale? Then we have recommendation quality. Is each recommendation supported by data? Does the recommendation consider practical limits? Does it avoid treating one high-performing channel as infinitely scalable? Then we have presentation quality. Is each slide easy to understand? Are the most important numbers clearly visible? Do the slides follow a logical sequence? And do the slides follow a logical sequence? For corrections required, how many numerical corrections are needed? How many unsupported claims need to be removed? And how many formatting improvements are needed? Finally, we come to practical value. Could a business leader understand the recommendation quickly? Is the output ready to use, or does it require minor revision? Or does it require major revision? Now let's go ahead and verify the expected totals manually. Now total spend is 4,80,000 rupees. Total leads, as you can see, are 7,250. Total enrollments are 814 and total revenue is 24,64,000. So overall, return on advertising spend is total revenue divided by the total spend, which is approximately 5.13. Now I compare the outputs. As you can see, we have the slides made over here. A basic response may simply mean that an email should be performing well. A stronger response should explain that an email generated the highest return on advertising spend, but its performance may depend on the size of the existing mailing list. So as you all know, a basic response may say that the Google search is expensive, but a stronger response should explain that Google search also produced a larger number of enrollments. A stronger response should be explaining that Google search also produced the largest number of enrollments and the highest revenue. Now, a basic response may recommend the shifting of the entire budget to an email. A stronger response should be recognizing that the email should not scale in the same way as paid acquisition channels. So the purpose of this comparison is not to prove that Soul will win every small task. A simple extraction task may be completed well by Luna. A standard professional analysis may be handled well by Terra, and a complex assignment involving conflicting files, several deliverables, and executive quality output may benefit more from Soul. So the correct question is not which model is always the best. The correct question is which model reaches the required quality for this task with an acceptable level of time, cost, and correction. Now I'm creating a new work project with the name of GPT 5.6 campaign business. So you can head over to the add files button over here. You can head over to the choose project button, click on new project, and then type your project name. So I will be typing GP campaign business review. So now that the project is created, let's go ahead and upload the following files. So upload the following files: campaign performance.csv, marketing meeting notes, executive brief, presentation reference. So now, before requesting for the spreadsheet, presentation, or report, I first ask the system to inspect the material and create a plan. So first, let's add our files. So once the files have been added, I go ahead and type the following work planning prompt. So review all of the 4 documents attached above before creating any final, followed by first give me a short work plan showing. Let me go ahead and paste the following prompt for your reference. So I've asked it to repeat. So I've asked it to go ahead and review all of the 4 attached files with the following points to keep in mind. Now this prompt asks for a plan before execution, identifies the campaign CSV as the main numerical source, and prevents the system from creating several deliverables before we review its approach. Now the work plan should be including total spend, total leads, total enrollments, total revenue, cost per lead, cost per enrollment, lead to enrollment conversion rate, return on advertising spend, share of total enrollments, and share of total revenue. It also mentions that the claims in the meeting notes will be checked against the CSV. Now, the system should be identifying the statement claiming that the webinars generated the highest revenue. The data set shows that this is incorrect because Google search generated 8,64,000 rupees in revenue while webinars generated 3,64,000 rupees. Now, if the contradiction is missing, I will enter the following prompt. So I've taken this prompt from GPT for your easy reference. So this is what it says. Before continuing, compare every numerical and performance-related statement in the meeting notes with the campaign CSV. Create a table with these columns. Meeting note statement, supporting CSV value, status, whether it's verified, incorrect, or unsupported, explanation. Explanation, corrected wording when required. Use the CSV file as the source of truth for numerical performance. Do not create the final deliverables yet. So this prompt separates 3 different situations. Verified means that the source supports the statement. Incorrect means that the source contradicts the statement, and unsupported here means the files don't contain enough information. Now, the LinkedIn statement should be marked unsupported because dataset doesn't just contain job role information. The webinar review statement should be marked incorrect. So once the plan and contradiction check are correct, I approve the analysis. So now let's go ahead and carry out the complete campaign analysis. So the prompt for the same is as follows. I got this prompt from ChatGPT. So as you can see, here are the points which have been included, where we're supposed to calculate the following for every channel. Along with that, we have identify and recommendation rules. So the expected analysis should identify Google search as the channel with the greatest enrollment scale because it produced, because it produced 288 enrollments. Google search also generated the highest revenue at 8,64,000 rupees, and email has the strongest return on advertising spend because 5,40,000 rupees divided by 20,000 rupees equals 27. Now, webinars have the highest lead to enrollment conversion rate because 91 divided by 650 equals to 14%. Now, YouTube generated a large number of leads because its enrollment and revenue efficiency are weaker than email, Google search, and webinars. LinkedIn may still reach a useful professional audience, but the files don't prove that the leads have a high seniority or a long-term value. Now, this is important because a good analysis should not be turning a team belief into a measured fact. So we have also completed the work demonstration part here in ChatGPT with this project. Now let's go ahead and use the same resource material with a spreadsheet, executive presentation, and management summary to obtain business deliverables. So I use the following prompt. So I got this prompt from ChatGPT as well for your easy reference. So this has the following, which is spreadsheet requirements, calculated metrics, included charts, some points for being able to clearly distinguish, and the other instructions are as follows here. So this prompt divides the assignment into 3 deliverables and defines what must be checked before the work is complete. Now, once the files are generated, I begin with the spreadsheet. Now, the final sheet should preserve the original campaign data, and the second sheet should be containing calculated metrics. Cost per lead is spend divided by leads. Cost per enrollment is spend divided by enrollments. Lead to enrollment conversion is the enrollments divided by leads. Now, return on advertising spend is revenue divided by spend. Now, for Google search, cost per lead is 1,80,000 rupees divided by 2,400, which equals rupees 75, and cost per enrollment is 1,80,000 divided by 288, which equals 625 rupees. And for email, cost per lead is approximately 11 rupees. And cost per enrollment is approximately 92.59 rupees, and return on advertising spend is 27. For webinars, lead to enrollment conversion is 14%. And that brings us to the end of this tutorial on GPT 5.6. We explored Soul, Terra, and Luna and understood the difference between ChatGPT Work and Codex, and saw how to turn raw information into useful business outputs while checking every important result. So subscribe to Simplilearn for more such insights and check out our related videos.